Well, hello again. Before we start on the next supplemental, just a quick note to tell you that I'm having some trouble with YouTube. Uh, Sometimes it won't let me comment on my own videos, or it takes the comment and then 10 seconds later it's been disapproved at some level and just disappears. So if you made a comment and I haven't answered, I'm not ignoring you. I am just not sure how to make those replies stick, and it's something I'm looking into. Well, we'll see how that develops. Well, hello. I'm not just any kind of nerd. I'm a basic nerd. You've seen me introduce bacon, and today I want to talk about bass. It's, in many ways, it's the complete opposite of bacon. Because in bacon, because everything's going to end up as C anyway, they've put in some constructs that I've never seen in any basic dialect before. Bass, on the other hand, tries to be as close as possible to the kinds of basic that we had, way back in the 1980s. So if you worked with GW Basic, feed your program in there. If you worked with Commodore Basic, anything in those lines, you'll be able to learn bass very easily. It can use line numbers, doesn't need them though. And so I've packaged that, and you see there are two versions of it. Bass_MH, that's Michael Haardt's original bass. And this is Paul Ratt's version. It's one generation earlier, but that doesn't really matter. And what Paul Ratt did, he made it work with 256 colors instead of just 16, and he added a few keywords, and I had some experimentation with it. I still prefer Michael Haardt's original though. Anyway, you can download them both. The way I've set it up is you can install one, and then when you install the other, it wipes the first one out. And then you install the first one again, it wipes the second one out. So you can have only one of these on your system at a time. But they're 99.9% compatible anyway, so it's not an enormous deal. Right. So I'll put this link in the show notes down below, and you'll be able to download it. Then what I've got is Basku. Now, let's just get a text editor up here. Bass will compile on almost anything. I've had it on Linux. I've compiled it on Mac OS. Now, that makes it very generic. And so if you do something like this, a string equals right, shell is what it used to make a system call. Now some dialects will say system, right? This one says shell. It's not too big a deal. But that won't work. I mean, the shell command can do an ls and throw it on the screen, but it can't feed it back into the into the bash system and then save it as a string or whatever. Right. So what I've written is a bunch of routines with BSK extensions just to make it a little more of a good citizen, and I call that Basku. It's a basic, it runs on Haiku, get it? Yeah, I thought I'd call it Bash, but apparently that name has been taken. Okay, so I've already updated that, found an error, and so this is the newest one that you would download and install, and then you get this. You also get this, some documentation, because the bash documentation is all in a man file. It's a bit sketchy, you know, it's very complete but not user friendly, so I've wrote a little introduction to the bash language. Right, and the other one you really want to look at is this one, which explains all the routines that I have written. So you can see them all. Right there. Now let's go back to those. Let's start with this one. This is the very first one I wrote, and so it is ridiculously over commented. Right. Okay, we got that in the clipboard. Right. So all you do is you copy that whole thing, because there's no import function. You actually have to copy it. Right, so alright, let's say equals, what are we gonna call it? Right. Types, the same as in the Haiku alert command, so let's call it idea. Buttons, number of buttons, I only want one, and messages we've set up, and then we make this okay. Now the other ones, Bash is not very tolerant about missing parameters, but they can be empty. Okay, let's save this as something. Desktop entirely sure what happened there, but you should still be able to see me. Right. What went wrong? What went wrong? Where am I? Ah. And of course there's an error in it. In line 3. Okay, so you see, I have just written something that will tell you what how to put up an alert. I've done the same with H dialog, shanty, K dialog. I've got quite a few things with T put to manipulate text around the terminal, and so I've gotten it to do quite some interesting things. So you could write your entire program in Bash to work on the screen, on the terminal screen, and then when it's time to load a file, you can use a file panel. Now, since I've said you can't do shell equals a string equals shell whatever, what most of these things do is they redirect the terminal command output to a temporary file, and then it reads the temporary file back in. But as you can see, that actually takes a fair bit of code, and so you don't have to worry about that, because all you have to do is this. So I did write a little IDE for it. I have to recreate that. I lost the code. I deleted the code. Yeah, it happens. But of course I did not write that in Bash. One day I'll give it a shot, but I need something quickly, so I wrote it in Yab instead. Anyway, that is coming back. I'll recreate that. It's just a text editor, really. It's not a very big deal. So this is my second installment in Basic for Haiku. Now, one day I will manage to compile free Basic. And who knows? Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Addendum. There's something I forgot to tell you. Okay, this is the little program we wrote. So what happens if I make this a lowercase m and make these two uppercase s's? Save that. Let's run it again. Nothing. Bash is relentlessly case insensitive. Everything is case insensitive. Thank you. You'd be surprised how many problems you can have, with case sensitive languages, because You know, you make one little slip of the caps key and, you know, program develops this mysterious thing where your variable just doesn't percolate through the program. Okay, this is really the end.